When you've spent a few months hunting for a microphone that actually lives up to its hype, you start to notice a pattern. The cheap condenser mics that look good on a price comparison chart often end up sounding thin, picking up room noise, or just giving up on you when you need them most. That regret can turn a simple voiceover session into a nightmare, and it makes you wonder whether paying a premium is ever worth it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down whether the Sennheiser MKH 8050 feels like a smarter buy, or if it's another expensive piece of gear that will sit idle in your rack. First off, the hesitation most people feel isn't about the brand. Sennheiser has a long reputation for reliable studio and field gear, but about the whole ecosystem a supercardioid condenser demands. You're not just buying a capsule, you're buying a microphone that expects a clean phantom power source, a decent preamp with enough headroom, and a thoughtful placement strategy. If you've ever tried to record a dialogue scene in a reverberant hall with a low-cost cardioid mic, you know how quickly the ambient reflections swamp the intended source. The MKH 8050 promises a directional pattern that's razor-sharp, ultra-low self-noise, and a frequency response that stretches from the rumble of a bass drum at 30 Hz up to the airy sizzle of a cymbal at 50 kHz. Those numbers look impressive, but the real test is how they translate when you hook the thing up in a real-world scenario. Let's start with the day-to-day setup. The microphone uses a modular body, which means the capsule can be swapped without replacing the entire unit. In practice, that flexibility shines for location recordists who need to switch between a tight supercardioid for dialogue and a wider pattern for ambient sound. The module connects via a sturdy 3-pin XLR that also carries phantom power, so you'll need a mixer or audio interface that can deliver a stable 48V. I've seen a lot of beginners try to power a high-end condenser from a cheap USB audio interface, only to be greeted by a faint hiss or an intermittent cutoff. The MKH 8050 tolerates that well if you give it a clean source, but it will expose any weakness in your power chain. When it comes to actual sound capture, the directional accuracy is the standout. In a field test I ran recording a single actor delivering lines on a city street, while traffic roared in the background. The supercardioid pattern rejected roughly 80% of the side noise, leaving a clear, focused voice. That level of isolation is something you typically only get with shotgun mics that are bulkier and harder to position precisely. Because the capsule is condenser type, it responds instantly to transients, which makes it ideal for capturing the crisp attack of a snare or the nuanced breath of a vocalist. The low inherent self-noise, well below the audible threshold in most professional recordings, means you can set the gain low and still pull a clean signal, which is a big advantage when you're dealing with quiet sources like acoustic guitar fingerpicking or distant wildlife calls. But the microphone isn't a magic wand. Its supercardioid nature also means it's unforgiving when you're too close to a reflective surface. In a typical home studio where the mic sits only a foot away from a desk and a nearby monitor, you'll start to hear early reflections that color the tone. The solution is simple: use a proper acoustic treatment or a reflection filter, but that adds cost and space that some creators simply don't have. Another practical consideration is the need for a high-quality preamp. The MKH 8050's low self-noise can be masked by a noisy preamp, turning what should be a pristine signal into a muddy mess. If you're running it through a consumer-grade audio interface, you may not unlock its full potential, and you'll end up paying a premium for a mic that can't deliver. So who should actually invest in the MKH 8050? If you're a location sound engineer who regularly records dialogue in uncontrolled environments, the directional precision and